Good morning, everybody. My voice is going to sound terrible today. I do apologize. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, my voice is going to sound terrible today. I do apologize. So, I have a watch list that I set up, and we're going to go over that today and look at some potential good day trades to take that are going to be cheap. My voice is going to sound shot all day, so I do apologize. Good morning, everybody. I also have to keep a cough drop in my mouth, so I do apologize if you kind of like hear me having a cough drop in my mouth, so won't be the most pleasant listening experience today, but we'll get through it. No, I'm good. I'm good. I want to stream today. It's just my voice is gone. So basically when I ended the stream yesterday, my voice just completely cut out, so one of the contracts I'm really looking at today for 0DT is the Soxus 6 puts, which I'll type those out. Now, at market open, these should be around about 11 per, and I'm projecting these to jump up to about 54 per. Okay, so that's kind of the potential on that trade today. And I want to just kind of show what I'm looking at for that. Excuse me. So obviously this is basing off of semiconductors. However, on semis, we're most certainly pushing new highs today. Extremely likely to occur. And so, on success, this creates this position to where we can see this inverse cup filled. This inverse cup is at the 548, so that would take us from the 620 all the way to the 548. Thank you, Carlos. Sorry, my voice is going to sound awful today. But I'm looking at these because these should be very cheap and they should run very hard. Okay, so that's the first trade that I want to set up today. Second trade I want to set up is on open, which for some reason isn't on my main watch list. Oh no, it is. I just missed it. Okay. So for open, currently the pre-market price is at 508. Excuse me. I'm looking to take the basically 5 call. You'd be in the money very slightly or almost at the money. Take the 5 call basically up to that 560. Very small trade. but it completes a cup to the upside. And we see with open, there's a very consistent pattern. Where this movement leads into a fairly large movement within the day. Excuse me. So I am looking for that gap upward. Potentially this could be pretty good, but I also like the contracts for June 20th as well. Good morning, everybody, and I apologize, my voice is just shot today. But let's get some good profits today regardless. So I'll type these contracts out too. So those are the contracts that I like on open, okay? Is the 5 calls for 0DT and the 6 calls for June 20th. Okay, those June 20th 6 calls should land very, very well. You can also take the 5 calls because they should be still fairly cheap. Now, I know Mike shared some positions too, which we will go over, but I want to make sure we're going to get the movement that we're expecting within kind of the overall bigger symbols. So on QQQ, it's extremely likely we're going to have a breakout today, which also means the SQQQ puts are going to do very, very well. Okay, and they're going to be fairly cheap. So we should see the 3.8 puts run in the money. Basically something like that. This could take us all the way down potentially to the 36 today. So June 18th. I apologize. Good morning, Silver. Sorry my voice is shot today. Okay, so the two excuse me, the two primary 0DTs that I really like today again are the Success 6 puts and those SQQQ 28 puts for the 0DT. They should be very cheap and they should run in the money very well, which would be, you know, very, very profitable. On the SQQ or on the Success puts, we're looking at about a 500% upside on those. So that's super awesome. So that's what I'll be looking for. Now, when we take our entry today, we'll still be taking our entry sort of the same way that we always try to take an entry. Excuse me. We're still going to look for this push downward into the lower Bollinger on Success slash SPY slash QQQ. Whether we get it or not, we're going to find an entry on Success regardless. They'll adjust once the market opens. So we're going to go over these, excuse me, these couple 0DTE trades first. And then we're going to be going over kind of a different watch list of looking at setting up some trades for the next basically month. Yes, make sure you do not market order. So I'll talk about the entry on the SQQQ once, I do open it up and take a look. The SQQQ 38 puts, did I say 28 or 38? I meant 38, I apologize. Alright, so we have 2 minutes till market open. I'm gonna be apologizing for my voice all day. So the pre-market price on Success is currently at 613, which is telling us that we can very easily get these 6 puts into the profit if we get the upside move throughout the SPY, semiconductors, QQQ, which it's looking very, very good. With 2 minutes to market open. I'm just gonna make a note on the screen somewhere that my voice is shot today, so that I don't have to keep saying it. So, okay, so we'll just keep that right there. Alright, markets can open very shortly. Now we're just gonna wait a few minutes before we touch the contracts, okay? We're seeing this push into the upper Bollinger on a cup closing, so we should see a little bit of a move downward as well. So I'm looking for that before we go ahead and enter our SOX puts. Now again, we talked about that entry being about 11 cents per, and currently that's what the price is at. But make sure you set up a limit order on these, don't just market buy. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and enter just a few of these positions. Again, these are the SOX 6 puts. I entered at 0.10 per. I'll type it out in chat. 0TT 0.10 per. Oh, so that's what I took currently. Okay. And again, we're looking for the upside through semiconductors. We're looking for basically SOX to push down quite a bit. Now, we do have a little chop to get through that on the day, but again, this is the level we're looking for today. We're looking for this 548. So that's going to be the target on the day. Now can enter very lightly because there's still going to be some, time to enter these positions on the day. Again, if this is a very large cup being closed. We do have room on a handle before fully breaking out, but I have entered some of those positions. They're very cheap, so I'm okay with sitting through them currently. Now we're going to take a look at SQQQ as well in a second, but let's take a look at the SPY. So SPY pulling down a little bit. That's making a good entry, but we do want to wait until the lower Bollinger, excuse me, QQQ pushed up pretty heavily right now. So we don't want to take SQQQ puts just yet, okay? Even though this is looking extremely good for just continuing to break out on the day. Let it reprieve a little bit. So let's get back to the 20 mile at least. And then we can start targeting some of those SQQQ puts to the downside. Now again, the SQQQ puts we will take are the 38 puts. We're not going to take them quite yet. Okay, we're going to let the market cool down just a little. No, SOX S. SOX S. We're not shorting the market, we're taking a bullish position. We're expecting a breakout, so by taking puts in SOX S, this is a bear ETF. So essentially those are the same as semiconductor calls. So again, let QQQ reprieve a little bit. Again, we do have very bullish structure here. Yes, we will be adding to the SQQQ, but not yet. Okay. We're gonna wait for at least this middle Bollinger to be pushed. So again, wait for this middle Bollinger. Middle Bollinger is at the 736.82 on the 5-minute time frame. But once we hit that level, we will try to engage in some of the 38 SQQQ puts, okay? They should be fairly cheap at that point, and they should run in the money. Now our SOX puts are already gaining some premium, so that's very good. Let's go ahead and mark our entry. Now usually we wouldn't take puts at the bottom, but we're expecting a overall gap up in the market today. And on SOX S, I don't really pay attention to the technicals. I focus on the technicals of what's going on with semis. Now semis are pushed up, but we did allow them to reprieve a little bit because we do have bullish structure. Okay, so we're looking for semis to continue pushing up on the day. Now QQQ, again, we're allowing it to pull back to this 20 mo, build a little bit of a handle, and from there, we will engage on some of those 38 puts. Only just a few at a time. Don't overexpose. So, for example, on these Soxas puts, got them very cheap. So currently I have 24 of them. You know, for me that's a $240 position. And I'm expecting this to run to about 54 cents per. So that'd be a very, very quality profit. How do I feel about NVIDIA? It's very funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because we're going to go over something. So on NVIDIA, remember how we talked about on the hourly time frame? And we talked about this on Wednesday. How on the hourly time frame, every time we pull down to the lower Bollinger, that creates the conditions to have a very large pull to the upside. Well, that occurred. Okay. That would have been an awesome contract if we took those at the low of the day on Wednesday. Now NVIDIA, kind of the same situation here again. Very consistently, when it goes to the lower Bollinger, it likes to push down very slightly and then pull up very hard. Very, very consistent pattern. So I am expecting bullishness out of NVIDIA today. Oh, I mean, it's not even 1% of my portfolio. So you have 5 of the puts right now on your 1500 port. That's perfect. Okay, that's perfect. Just go ahead and keep that because this gives you a little bit of room. Sorry, my voice is so bad. This gives you a little bit of room to add to those positions if you absolutely have to. But again, I'm expecting those puts to run basically well into about 54 cents per. Now, when I do take the SQQQ contracts, so let me go ahead and pull those up. Now, these are a little more expensive. And granted, we're not taking them just yet. We are allowing this to pull down a little bit first. But I'll only probably be taking about 4 of them. So the whole position overall would be about 120, 140, give or take. I didn't take the open 5 calls yet. I wanted to set these up first. But let's go ahead and look at open and see if we're getting the price action that we're expecting. So these 5 calls on open could be very, very good, especially when we're pushed into the lower Bollinger. Technically, we're below, you know, where the strike is. So these are only basically like $8 per call. And you only need to see 4 cents of upside to run in the money. Okay, I think That's a very, very solid odd, okay, of having a contract that's going to print very hard. So I do have some orders, excuse me, I do have some orders set for open. I'm taking these 5 calls at 9 cents per, so I'll go ahead and type them out. For Sox S, they're puts. Sox S puts are basically semiconductor calls. Again, a put on the bear ETF is saying that you're going long. You are shorting the bear ETF. So that's the exact same as taking a call to the upside. No, QQQ here. We're still looking for this 20 mall on the 5-minute time frame. SPY legging up pretty well here. Excuse me. And our volatility is just absolutely dumping down today. Trying to get us into those SQQQ puts, which are the exact same as taking tech calls. Oh, you don't have to delete messages. Don't worry about it. It's good because it shows everybody in the chat too who might have the same question. Because I know it can get a little confusing sometimes with the different ETFs and everything. So we're waiting for our position here now. Technically, if you want, I'm not going to do that or show it on the stream today, but you could try to short down to the 20 month. It's a very reasonable position while we're above the upper Bollinger. On QQQ, this would basically be a 738 put to the downside. Entirely up to you. I'm not going to take that position, but the position is available. Semiconductors still running very, very hot here today, which is very good for our puts. Okay, we're expecting, again, we're expecting this to go all the way down to the 548 roughly on the day, which would be very, very, very profitable for us. So I only have a couple positions on open because I don't want to get into too many different symbols today. But I'm still very fine with the price action here. Again, we only need 6 cents of upside for these calls to be in the money. I think that's extremely reasonable, especially when we have plenty of bullish structure throughout the other time frames. No, I'm expecting a big move upward in the SPY. We should be seeing basically, you know, a pretty decent push on the day. Potentially we could be headed to the upper Bollinger today on the daily time frame, which is at the 760.57. We'll adjust that in a second, but close enough. So on our 5-minute time frame, we're expecting, quite a bit of upside today. Now again, I'm not going to be 0DT trading the SPY today, nor do I really want to focus on that at all. But out of the overall market, I'm expecting very major pushes. Semiconductors should pull down, form a handle, continue upward, which for our puts currently, we're now in the money. Okay, so our puts are currently up a whole 45%, and the day has not even started, barely. My average on these are 0.11. They're currently trading for 0.16. I'm expecting these to run basically to 2.54 per. So we have a lot of upside today. Let's check QQQ. We have not gotten our entry yet, so we're just gonna wait on those as QQQ. The 5 calls. Okay, so we have the breakout on QQQ, SPY, semiconductors. Now we're expecting a bit of a downward handle. Okay. No, I'm not shorting these handles. I'm not doing anything like that today. But that's just the expectation that I'm looking for. And if we can get our pull downward to form this handle, then that'll give us our SQQQ entry. Now I want to take a look at open. Still looking very good for our 5 calls. Now again, on the hourly, we have multiple gaps above us, but potentially we could be heading all the way to the 548 range today, which would pull these calls heavily in the money. So very high potential for a very cheap entry. The video is looking very good today. We talked about that. We literally talked about how once we push the lower Bollinger, we expect kind of a pretty adverse reaction to the upside. We're already starting to see that. I'll type out the Bollinger settings. Yeah, you could definitely sell some of the SOX S6 puts on this move. If technically we are expecting a little downside for some of these handles before the full breakout. So, you can definitely take a little profit if you'd like. The Bollinger settings. Length 20. Width 2. Closed. On open, we're still expecting our upside price action. We've been pushing the lower Bollinger on the 5-minute time frame for a little bit here, and we identified this pattern where usually you have this kind of like swoosh downward, gap down, and then pull up. Okay, and this is very, very consistent with open. So we're expecting the same thing. We had the gap down, we had that swoosh. Now we're expecting the pull upward pretty soon here, okay? So I'm holding those calls. Our SOXS puts are doing very, very well right now. I'll type it out. Give me 1 second just to mute. Alright, so we're doing very good on SOXS. Semis are continuing to break out. On the 30-minute time frame, we basically should be seeing this full upside back to the 955, or excuse me, the 595. So our upside today is very, very, very large. Okay. Today could easily be like a 3% day in semiconductors. SPY, we're looking for the 760.54. I'm gonna edit this. But again, we're not taking SPY calls today. Now on QQQ, we've been pushing upward for quite a while. We have basically filled this cup, had the breakout, and now we're kind of just working on setting some new territory here, okay? But even with that said, we should be expecting a little bit of a pull down within this cup to continue pushing upward throughout the rest of the day. Starting to see this with semiconductors a little bit here. Still looking for our upside and open. Currently my average on those calls are 0.08. The SQQQ calls are shorting the market. Okay, so technically you can profit off of that because we are expecting this move downward to form this handle. So there is room to profit off of that before you completely cut that position. Yeah, I've been saying that over and over. For open, we're taking the 5 calls to the upside. We're expecting this to pull up to, above $5 today. That's why we took these calls. So we're just gonna have a fairly relaxed day. We're going to wait for the pull down in QQQ to enter into the SQQQ puts. If you have the SQQQ call, that is fine. But remember that's shorting tech. So that's expecting for us to get this handled downward. So you have to be a little cautious with that. Yeah, my voice is absolutely terrible. Basically, after yesterday's stream, it just completely cut out. Our volatility is still pushing down very, very greatly on the day. And again, the price target that I'm looking for on these SOX S puts is around this 548. That would be suggesting that we're going to, close this cup all the way today. I'm expecting the pullback on QQQ. So the price target is currently, and I'll type it out because I can't talk very well, 737.63. Okay, so that's kind of the plan on QQQ. But again, I'm not taking the SQQQ calls right now. I am fully expecting the market to really just launch today. Our SOX S puts are doing very, very well. Mine are currently up a whole 60%. Again, I'm looking for these to be up around 500% today. So, there's a lot of upside to our contracts. Now for open, we are now above our strike price. So my calls are up just very slightly, only 18% right now. But the day has just started and we're looking for basically all the way up to this 540 range. So I'll type out those exits. I'll type the positions we got today. Okay, So I typed out kind of what I'm anticipating in the chat. So there will be room today to enter some of these positions, very, very likely. We have not taken the SQQQ position yet. Technically, we're only in open, and we're only in SOX currently. So we're seeing a little bit of a pull down here, which that's what we're expecting. We're expecting to pull down towards this 20 mile a little bit and then basically have a very, very hard bounce. The open calls are currently up 43%. I'm expecting these to run basically like 300-400% today plus. Starting to see this pull down in the handle. This is very good. That's exactly what we're looking for. Same with QQQ. We will be making an entry on those SQQQ calls at the 20 mile today. Yep, that's absolutely fine, Nimble. We're expecting, quite a bit of upside on those open calls. Look at NVIDIA really quick. Yeah, it looks like pretty much the entire market's just trying to form this handle before heading to the upside, which makes, a very, very good entry. So again, QQQ, and I'll write it out on screen. Let's make that a little bigger. So that's the plan on QQQ. I will put that in the center. Okay. Yeah, it'll take some time. You need this level to push before the SQQQ calls go up. For semis, again, I feel like people aren't listening to me today, even though I can't talk very well. Okay. Um, it's very hard to continue repeating myself. We're expecting a pull down to the 20 mile. Okay. This means success will be pulling upward slightly. We are looking for this handle to form to the upside. Okay, so that's the plan on semis. We're expecting this to pull downward and then break out and head up. Okay. On open, I'll just have to type it on screen. It's the 442. So hopefully this is transparent enough, you know. Microsoft puts, I would not be shorting the market right now. Um, with how the upper Bollinger works on the daily time frame. Upper Bollinger day one, we expect the level to hit and basically stay. Day two, we expect a higher high. From that higher high, that's when you short. Because that's how you get back to the 5 mile. Okay. But you want to wait for the day two. Semi is pulling down to the 5 mile here, or to the 20 mile. So this is a very good entry on the success puts. If you have not entered, this is a great entry. And then on QQQ, we're looking for the pullback to the 20 mile again. So we're expecting a lot of upside in the market. Okay. Now open. Slight pull downward. But on the 1 minute time frame, let's see if this is forming a cup and handle. Looking for that to break out. So we will watch that. SanDisk, you still have some runway. So very likely Anna. probably gonna end up about probably around that 1700, 1800 range. So that's looking very good. Semis, ever since they hit the 20 mile, have been pulling back upwards so far, so that's good. Kind of exactly what we want to see. Volatility climbing just a little bit, but it is still super, super, super low today. So I'm still expecting basically all-time highs out of the entire market. Yeah, Micron's doing very well. So remember how I told you to sell at that point? We had to do a 5 mod test. From that 5 mod test, we are now bouncing. And very likely you're going to push all the way into the upper Bollinger today. From that upper Bollinger day 1, you should expect a higher high from day 2. So very, very likely well above that 1000 range. That's funny. We called out in chat probably a year ago, year and a half ago, whenever it was, to buy Micron for 77 a share. I wish I listened to my own advice on that one. So let's see if we're going to get our pull down in QQQ. So again, looking for this 20 mo. But I just want to look at SPY as well. So SPY the same thing. Basically looking for that 20 mo to hit and then have a bounce to the upside. Let's take a look at open. Open's still looking fine. Looks a little sketchy, but I do think we'll get our upside today. And if not, we can exit those calls pretty cheap because, you know, we basically bought them for right what they're going to be valued at. It's okay, Anna. It's okay. There's always going to be something else to, you know, find the dip on. And that's something we're really good at doing here. So we've called the absolute bottom on so many different stocks, it's unreal. I still really like this entry on Success, but we can't expect it to pull down slightly just because we are expecting this pull down in the SPY. And we are expecting this pull down in QQQ. Okay. Once we hit the 20 mo here, we'll talk about taking the SQQQ38 puts to the upside. Great job. Great job. Yep, that was a great exit. And now we're going to look at the SQQQ puts. 1 second while I pull those up. Okay, so it's looking like we should be able to buy these for about 27 cents per. Yep, I got in at 27 cents per. Thank you. Just 1 second, everybody. Okay, so I went ahead and typed that out in chat. So that's what we're looking at out of SQQQ today, is to basically hit the daily upper Bollinger. So now that we do have our entry, I'm going to mark out our exit. The upper Bollinger on the daily time frame is 7:45.85. Basically, 7:46. Okay, so that's the plan out of QQQ. We have a lot of upside then, in them, so. Gonna drag this over. Okay. So we secured that downside. Worked perfectly, even though we did not trade it. We talked about it, got the entry. Now we're looking for our upside. SPY, we're expecting the same thing. Expecting a bounce from this 20 mall. And semis, we're also expecting a bounce from this 20 mall to basically head to all-time highs. Now I do want to look at NVIDIA really quick. NVIDIA is very bullish right now, forming this cup, trying to continue pushing upward. Open, we're seeing a little bit of a breakdown. Now, we're still within the bounds of this move that we talked about, how we see this pull downward, gap down, and then pull up. So we're still looking for that. If we continue pushing down throughout the session, then we'll cut those out on a very, very minimal loss. I only took 4. So yes, we're still holding open right now. We're basically expecting the market to bounce off this 20 mall and pull to the upside. Our volatility has pulled up a little bit, but I am looking for it to bounce downward from this 20 mile as well. Finding a little bit of support at these 20 mile ranges. So that's exactly what we're looking for. We do want to see some support within semis, but we should expect that very soon out of QQQ and everything. There's the 20 mile on VVIX. So we are starting to look for support to be built in these ranges. Now, one look at NVIDIA here. Now, NVIDIA is invalidating this smaller cup, but it still has very bullish structure. You know, from these gap downs, we fully anticipate these pretty large moves to the upside. VVIX pulling up very slightly, but I'm still expecting this to pull down on the day. Looking for the market to start trying to build support at some of these ranges. I bought times 4 of those. Nimble, do you have me muted today? We did see a pretty large sell candle in there, starting to taper that sell out a little bit, which is kind of exactly what we're looking for. Semis did pull all the way to the lower Bollinger, which technically gives an additional entry on these stocks as puts. Okay. So I'm going to add very lightly to those positions, because I do fully expect the upside within the trading session. Starting to build some support on QQQ as well. Now I want to look at open. Open starting to build some support here, so that's looking good. SPY building some support. Semi's starting to build some support here. So this is looking very nice overall on the day. Yeah, on open we're expecting a move upward. We're expecting this to head upward. Looking for support to be built here throughout the market. VVIX is pulling back down again. It did hit all the way to the 8604. It's currently at 8590. Again, looking for support to be built because we are expecting basically push, the market to push to all-time highs today. Starting to see the support being built within SPY pretty well. Starting to begin the same with semis. Same with QQQ. Open, we're still slowly getting back to our level. But all of our positions are looking very, very strong right now. I'm gonna be mute a second, but I'm gonna type something in chat real quick. Alright, I'm back. Rested my voice a little bit. So we're starting to get some of our upside, but we do have to be very cautious, okay, because this is a smaller, bare structure here. Okay, so we do have to be cautious with that overall. But we're starting to see some of our support rebuilt, which is, exactly what we're looking for. We just need to invalidate some of this previous bear structure. So we need to break up above the 758.08. Excuse me. Good morning, Jeffrey. Sorry if my voice is terrible today. And with the VVIX pushing into the 5-minute upper Bollinger, we should be seeing a cool down in the volatility very, very soon. So we talked about this, and I know some of you may have had the stream muted or something, but we talked about how throughout QQQ SPY, everything, we were looking for that move downward. Okay. After that move downward, however, we're looking for some form of support to be built to continue heading upward. So we did talk about the QQQ short position. Some of you, I think, took that. I know someone took a SQQQ call at that point, which did very well. But we were expecting this slight pull downward. Now, what we need to identify is, are we going to continue pulling down the rest of the day? Or are we going to truly start to see some of this tapering in the volatility, tapering in the selling, and actual buying to the upside? So that's what we're looking for currently. Starting to see some very nice support build, but we need to see, a continuation of it, and we need to invalidate the previous bearish structure. So we do have a little bit of work to do before fully expecting our upside. But from that lower Bollinger on the 5-minute time frame, we should be getting the upside bounce that we're expecting. So if we could see continuation of that, that's going to be very, very positive for our positions. And let's take a look at open again. And open is slowly reclaiming its support levels. So still looking for that to push above the $5 range today. Seeing a smaller cup and handle forming here can lead to a breakout. Alright, I'm gonna mute really quick. Yes, we do have the 5 calls. Okay, so I'm gonna mute really quick and go say bye to my daughter, because she's getting ready to go to her program. But I will be right back in a few minutes. Sorry about that. I'm back. Let's take a look at semis. I don't think our puts are going to be bad. We're seeing the structure that we're looking for out of the market. We expected the move downward. Now we just need to see our volatility cooling down a little bit further and start pulling down on the day to really show that dealers are not having to hedge positions. Our HIG is very, very strong today. Remember, it pulled down all the way to the 80.24, and now it's all the way to the 80.34. We see NVIDIA forming this bounce that we've been kind of expecting out of the day. So if we can head up all the way to the 217.35, that will invalidate some of the previous bearish structure. QQQ is looking very good. If we can, again, close this cup to the upside, that will invalidate the bearish structure on the day. Same goes for semis, same goes for the SPY. Now on open, finally above our strike price again, so that's good. Why is master squeezing? It's because the news is helping the market. Bitcoin's running, pretty hard right now. It was down all the way at 72,400. Currently up a whole, $1,200 on that. So we're seeing some good signals to have our upward bounce. And remember about these SOXS puts. When I entered earlier today, I did say enter very lightly because it's likely we're going to push downward. Okay, so if anyone ended up full porting up there, I can't, you can't knock me on that. I did say that, but this downside was coming. But with that said, I'm looking for a lot of this upside to be filled. Okay. A lot of this upside being filled will absolutely drop SOXS below the strike again, pull us in the money, and we should be good to go. So I'm not worried about our contracts. I kind of was expecting that to occur regardless. I think we're still going to be ripping to the upside, so I wouldn't be too hesitant. The HIG is looking extremely strong today, which is telling us that it's very likely our upside is going to be extremely strong. So we just need to see more support built, and from there we should be able to see the upside that we're looking for. I'm primarily just waiting for volatility to cool down. That's kind of the last signal of the day that I'm really waiting to see. Micron's trying to head back to the high of the day as well, so that's very bullish for our semis. We have NVIDIA trying to push to the high of the day, very bullish for the semis. AMD has a little work to do, but this is still holding that cup and handle. So if we do see the upside bounce, which so far we're seeing, then this will be very good for semis. Applied materials, kind of the same situation here. Very large cup, starting to form that handle. Upside here will be very good for us on our semi positions. I agree. I think SPY's getting ready to pop up to that 760 range today. Which is why I'm going to be very patient, because we should expect top of this cup. Sorry, I can't talk today. My voice is just entirely gone. Something indicative of that. Forming this cup to the upside. Pulling down, creating a handle. Continuing to add up to the upside. So that's what we're going to be looking for. Our volatility is still fairly elevated, which is, kind of like the only really major concern that I have on the day. But our HIG has been pushing upward very, very greatly. Yeah, I think Bitcoin will probably be moving pretty hard this weekend based on that news. We have a cup formed on QQQ. Sorry about that. I had to cough. We have this cup forming on QQQ. And from this cup, we should be expecting a handle, which should be taking us up to basically the high of the day. Okay, so it's going to be very good for our SQQQ positions. As you can see, they're almost in the money now. Again, we have the SQQQ 38 puts, so we're expecting this to drop below 38. A little bit of a tick down in the volatility, so that's good. That's what we're looking for. And we're seeing a little bit of kind of a wonky cup and handle. Not exactly the best liquidity in the world. This looks more like just a very wonky inverse head and shoulders. But we'll see if we can break some of this bear structure. No, we're not cutting the puts. No, no, no. We're literally expecting like all-time highs today out of the SPY and everything. So no, we're not cutting positions. Please don't cut those positions. QQQ. Semis. I can't talk, hold on. We're really expecting all-time highs out of the market today. I sound like Bane right now, hold on. Sorry about that. I'm trying to trying to breathe here. We're expecting a small handle down in QQQ, SPY, everything, but from this handle, this should be bullish liquidity to the upside. So we're still looking for our upside today. Okay, we're looking for basically all-time highs to form today. So we're not cutting those positions. Now I want to look at open. Open also formed a cup, which is very bullish. From this cup, we should be seeing this push well above the $5 range. I do want to see some more bullish structure out of semis overall. But even Micron forming multiple cups in here, looking very positive. Now NVIDIA, we need to make sure it doesn't break down too much further, because we don't want this to turn into basically head and shoulders. So this should lead to a bullish breakout. We're still seeing our VVIX ticking downward. So, excuse me. So a lot of very good signals for the market overall. At least in my opinion. I know people will disagree, but again, I sell strength by weakness. Open starting to pull back up a little bit, so that's very good. If we can get, well above this 510, then that'd be very nice for our positions. If we can get the SPY to bounce here and everything, then that's going to be very good for our positions as well. FiveMa was a lot closer yesterday than I think it is today. Let's see. So technically, the 5 mile is pretty dang close. However, we're a lot closer to this upper Bollinger, and I do believe we're seeing the bullish structure to get us up to that upper Bollinger, rather than trying to head down into a 5 mile test. I can be incorrect about that, but that's what I'm seeing so far. Sorry everyone that I can barely speak today. But does everyone understand kind of what we're expecting? We're really expecting kind of all-time highs out of the day, above where we were at this morning. If we get our move upward in semis, then SOXS will pull down pretty quickly. Especially if we're expecting, all-time highs to hit today. SQQQ puts almost in the money. We could see this very nice head and shoulders forming too. Which would bring us downward. And our volatility still pulling downward. Tapering away from the upper Bollinger as we discussed. So I have a lot of conviction to the upside today. I don't think that today is a 5 mile test type of day. Again, I could be incorrect, but I would be expecting the HIG to be, dumping quite a bit for us to get there. Our calls on open starting to do pretty good. Yes, I will be streaming next week. So the range I'm looking for on open is really at this 545 basically. But honestly, taking profit anywhere between, at least try to get it above like the 515, okay? Um, but anywhere in this range is going to be a solid profit. You know, these contracts again are very cheap and they're very strike based. So when you're under the strike, the market sells it as if it's not going to hit. Now that it's in the money technically, the premium absolutely just rockets upward. It's kind of what we're trying to catch on SOXS here as well. Same with SQQQ. So SQQQ, that's why we took the 38 puts, because we do see the upside in the day. And if we're going to get that upside, then this is going to run not just at the money, but in the money. Same with our SOXS puts. So again, what we're targeting on SOXS is down at this 548, which would bring us to, yesterday, or not yesterday, but the day prior, the high of the day, okay? So if we can get our upside move in semiconductors, which we do have a little bit of bearish structure, but we still have this very large cup formed, okay? And as long as that cup is still there and not invalidated, then this liquidity can take us back up. So that's what I'm looking for out of semis. I'm looking for quite a lot of buying to kick in throughout the day today to, take us very, very high on the day. Again, I'm kind of expecting like all-time highs out of the market today. What's the target for SQQQ? So the real target for SQQQ, and you're gonna have to use QQQ, okay, is that we're targeting the upper Bollinger, okay, and the upper Bollinger is basically right at the 746, okay. The first target, if you don't want to try to wait for that level, which, that's totally up to you, but that first target would be at the 741.61 to close this cup, because at the top of this cup, what do we expect? Bearish structure. From that bearish structure, pull back downwards slightly, then head upwards. So there's room for, you know, to take profit, pull back, buy back in, and profit massively on the day. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking for currently. Even on success. Oh, it's okay. Let's go ahead and look at open one last time. So for open, there's this very interesting pattern where I don't really have a good word for it other than swish. It's like this swish downward and then big spike up, swish downward, big spike up, swish downward, and expecting a big spike up. Okay. Um, they're building liquidity to close this cup to the upside. The cup to the upside is at the 560, but am I thinking we're gonna hit that today? Not really. Um, I'm more so targeting this liquidity at the 545. So we had that swish downward, and now we're getting ready to start pulling up. You know, that swish downward right there. Fully expecting kind of to pull upward towards that 545 today. So that should be a very, very profitable position. Our SQQQ is starting to do pretty good, almost in the money. Not yet, but just a few cents away. Same thing with our success here. We're expecting the exact same thing out of the success positions. We're expecting, again, all the way down to the 548. So that is a very large downside on the day. That would pull these puts to in the money, and I would expect to exit them around probably around $50 per put. Okay, so if we get the upside move that I'm expecting today, then a lot of these are going to run very, very, very hard. All right, everybody. Um, my voice is dying on me, so I'm gonna probably stream another like 5 minutes. Okay. Is if there's any questions or anything, right now is a great time to ask. We'll go over whatever you want. Other than that, I will be putting out a video on Sunday. Again, that video kind of covers what I am anticipating out of the market for the week, what data sets are going on, what earnings are going on. So I highly encourage giving those a watch. I usually try to keep them about 20 to 30 minutes long. I will be streaming again next week. So the standard time, so the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. So my average on those puts are at 0.10. So I am down quite a bit, but I'm not very worried because if we're going to get our upside, that will shift very, very quickly. Yes, I do. I do think NVIDIA pops today. Um, I don't know if you had a chance to see earlier, but going to the NVIDIA hourly, and we talked about this, I believe, on Wednesday, where every time we push down to the lower Bollinger, we have a very, very adverse, push to the upside. Down the lower Bollinger, push up, down the lower Bollinger, push up, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And let's see if we rinse, repeat. I'm expecting it. So the exit on open, I'll type it in chat. Okay, so those should be the exits. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the support and all the kind words and everything. And I do apologize that the last 3 trading sessions have been very choppy and difficult. It's not standard for me. Um, I don't have much more to say about that, um, other than I do stick to my mechanics, and we'll make it a better week next week. I wanted to set up some longer positions today, but I'm just feeling horrible, so I don't have the ability to go over that currently. But I am going to share a watch list with everybody. And let me see how I could do this. I have it shared in the Discord, so if you are in the Discord, and again, we're going to be making the membership free this weekend, so that's something we're going to work on. And I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great day, a great weekend, and we're going to make next week a better week, okay? Um, but we're going to make the Discord membership free. What the free membership comes with, again, is the unusual whales, and that's usually about $40 to $50 a person if you're to buy that individually for the monthly subscription. So that's already super cool. We also have our in-house made Gex and Dex tool, which is, that's going to be absolutely free to use. You're also going to be able to talk to plenty of other traders, including myself. So highly suggest trying to get into the group. Again, this weekend we will be making that $1 membership free. So I hope to see you all next week. But have a great weekend, and I will try to be feeling better by next week. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day.